All right, guys, we are at a time when we need to discuss and go over again just what is happening and what is going to happen very soon. If you notice, I said what is happening because you're seeing UFOs in the news more and more. And I just posted an article today that says that the government released documents of people being physically harmed by these sightings of UFOs. This is government released documents, so talking about brain damage and burning and all kinds of stuff. So what is going on? If you already know, then you probably might not want to listen to this video, but for those of you who aren't exactly aware and ready of what's going on, I'm here to inform you that there is an enormous deception that has been forming and that is going to take place very soon. And this deception could come about in a couple of ways. But one of the main consensus is that this deception is going to be told to people that aliens, right? So when we say aliens, we have to describe what we're talking about, okay? The world view of aliens is these little green men that are higher advanced in technology that come from a far off galaxy that evolved from nothing just like us. Now, usually when you get that view, these people believe in the Big Bang and evolution and all this stuff, right? But even some Christians say, well, it's possible because they don't know true biblical creation. They still believe in outer space. Therefore, you need outer space to conduct the next slide, which is aliens and evolution. Even some Christians say maybe God created man to evolve. All these things, nonsense. So the lie is linchpinned and based upon a whole bunch of other lies that we've all been inundated with since we've been going to school here in America and all across the earth. So the lie is going to be that these are overseers, right? They could, if you watch Ancient Aliens on the History Channel, you know that they're promoting the lie as well, that aliens, like I said, aliens gave man this technology and great knowledge and all these things. So the interesting thing to all this is there is some truth, right? The technology and the information, well, we're going to account for these things. However, we're going to account for them biblically and extra biblically, but actually it's biblically because the book I'm about to read to you was in the King James Bible, by the way, for all you deniers out there. The first book of Enoch was in the King James Bible that I'm going to read to you right now, in the 1611. This and 13 other books got taken out. And why do you think? Because this information tells you exactly what these aliens are. And what they're pushing on the mainstream idiot box would never be possible if this information was more widely known. There would never be an alien deception. So with that being said, I'm just going to start reading, and here we go. So in the first book of Enoch, which was in the Bible, chapter 6 we're going to start at. And it's interesting because this stuff starts taking place in chapter 6 in the book of Enoch. Also in the King James Bible, you start reading about these sons of God or angels in the Bible in Genesis chapter 6. So here we go. I have to look a little closer because I have bad eyes. And it came to pass when the children of men had multiplied that in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters. And the angels, the children of the heaven, saw and lusted after them, and said to one another, Come, let us choose wives from among the children of men, and begat us children. And Simjaza, who was their leader, said unto them, I fear ye will not indeed agree to do this deed, and I alone shall have to pay the penalty of a great sin. So here we have angels discussing the idea of coming down to earth and impregnating human women. Most of us go, whoa, wait, I've seen a bunch of movies like that. Well, I got news for you. They come from truth. They come from our real history, the real past that's been hidden from us. Let's keep reading. Then swore they all together and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. And they were in all 200 who descended in the days of Jared on the summit of Mount Hermon. And they called it Mount Hermon because they had sworn and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. If you look up what's on top of Mount Hermon on Google, do you know that at that lone mountain, the United Nations has set up a base, a really interesting looking base. And this is where the fallen angels first came down to earth to impregnate human women. However that happened. So are we looking at aliens from another galaxy, guys? No. Are we looking at something that evolved from nothing? No. We're looking at angels who committed great sin. And they impregnated women. Like I said, however that happened. Let's keep reading. And these are the names of the leaders. Simjaza, their leader. Arakiba, Ramiel, Kokabel, Tamiel, Ramiel, Daniel, Ezekiel, Barakiel, Asiel, Amaros, Badarel, Ananel, Zekiel, Samsapil, Satarel, Turiel, Jomjael, Seriel. These are their chiefs of tens. And all the others together with them took unto themselves wives, and each chose for himself one, and they began to go in unto them, and to defile themselves with them. And they taught them, and they taught them charms and enchantments, and the cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants. And they became pregnant, and they bare great giants. Again, we have the talking about of giants in the book of Enoch, which we have littered all throughout the Old Testament in the King James Bible, whose height was 3,000 ells. Now, if you look up how big is an ell is, I think, 18 inches. So we're talking about giants who are like a mile high, believe it or not. I'm telling you, before the flood, we had a giant earth. And actually, when you even look in mainstream archaeology, you see things like the megalodon, which is like a massive great white, which is like 4 times the size of a great white. So even mainstream science can account for these animals and plants that were like 10, 20 times bigger than average size. But they're only giving you a glimpse because it gets really big. Whose height was 3,000 ells, who consumed all the acquisitions of men. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. Wow, so they were cannibals. They started eating humans. Again, Jack and the Beanstalk, ring a bell? Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman. Yeah, they come from reality, guys. Okay? And you're going to see that if there's no rapture, which I don't know if there is, when there is, or what. But if we're here, this is what's coming again. Because Jesus Christ said, as in the days of Noah, so shall it also be in the coming of the Son of Man. Guess what? The book of Enoch is about the days of Noah before the flood. That's right. That's why they're using this new world order, new age deception. And they call them aliens from outer space. But they're angels from right above the firmament. And if you don't know what the firmament is, you need to research flat earth. Okay? Because they're this flat, it's stationary, and it's covered with a dome, just like the Truman Show. And there is no outer space, like they say, of billions of light years away. They're right above you. Even the Apostle Paul writes in his epistles, the women covered their hair in the Bible because their hair was their glory. And they covered their hair because of the angels. Because as you can see here, angels were lusting after women. They looked from above, so the women would cover their heads so that the angels wouldn't, lust after them. Even the Apostle Paul writes that. The angels are right above us, around us, fallen angels everywhere. If we could only see in the other realms, and it's coming. And they begin to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish, to devour one another's flesh and drink the blood. Then the earth laid accusation against the lawless ones. You see that? What are we talking about? Bestiality, right? Sexual sins with animals. Probably killing them, drinking their blood, as it says. Where do you think all this stuff comes from? It comes from the fallen angels teaching man all these things. Chapter 8. And Azazel taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth, and the art of working them, and bracelets and ornaments, and the use of antimony, and the beautifying of the eyelids, and all kinds of costly stones, and all coloring tinctures. Where do you think this stuff comes from, guys? That's why in the Old Testament law, God was against all this stuff. Because it's like a manipulation and a distortion of just what we are, right? And like women, it talks about interesting things like women seducing men, with like makeup. It says the eyelids are here and all the tinctures, the little earrings and stuff. It's to seduce men and stuff like this. They talk about everything in this book and the book of Jasher. And they talk about abortion by dashing the womb. The womb going up inside a woman and dashing the womb, the little baby inside. That's in the book of Jasher. And there arose much godlessness, and they committed fornication, and they were led astray, and became corrupt in all their ways. Simjaza taught enchantments and root cutting. Amaros, the resolving of enchantments. Barakil taught astrology. Now remember, in the Bible, God says that the sun, the moon, and the stars are there for signs and appointed times. That is called astronomy. What they taught is astrology. It's a perversion of the truth, guys. That's what Satan does. He'll take the true and he'll twist it. That's why in the Bible it says that he corrupted his wisdom. In other words, there's some wisdom to what he has to say, but it's corrupted. That's why you have astrology now and astronomy. Kokobel, the constellations. Ezekiel, the knowledge of the clouds. Erekiel, the signs of the earth. Samsael, the signs of the sun. And Sariel, the course of the moon. And as men perished, they cried, and their cry went up to heaven. So that is just a small glimpse of what happened, where things come from, and what's happening again. It's not that it's going to happen. It is happening right now. And it is slowly being unveiled to the world. Now, people like me and others out there, we've known this for years. We've been sharing this for years. But everybody needs to wake up and prepare their minds. And that's right. Repent. Try to get whatever's in your life out of it that you don't need, that is not right. And believe on the Lord Jesus Christ, God manifested in the flesh, the only begotten from the dead. That's Jesus Christ. 1 Corinthians 15, verses 1 through 4. It's coming, guys. It's in the news. It's been in the news. And it's happening. So again, if you guys want to educate yourselves, this is what I have. That's what I'm reading from. These 14 books were taken out of the King James Bible and have now resurfaced. And the first 2 or 3 verses in the book of Enoch says, this is for not this generation, speaking about his generation, but for a generation for to come. A remote generation. He's talking about this generation now. Go buy it. Educate yourself. Be prepared. God bless.